Yeah, son just had a bike ride and came back. So I want to continue on with this a little bit. So you know, you. I mean, that's what's happening with the Ukraine thing. I mean, you have this twisted, dark person who, he can't stand the idea that the Ukrainians are having a good life. They're happy. They're growing. They're healthy. They have a beautiful country, and they just want to, live and grow and be at peace. Oh, he can't accept that. That can't be the right way because he knows the right way, and the right way is whatever his forces think is the right way. Everybody's out to get you, and we're all going to kill you. We're trying for power. Who gives up about power? You know, you have enough power in your own self that you need. In other words, you kind of, make space for your own life. And if you do things and you follow the guidance of God, you'll find you do things that are useful. A lot of people in the world are doing useful, good things. They're growing crops. They're looking after children. They're making a good dinner. They're loving up somebody, their companion, and looking after them. They're taking care of themselves. There's so many wonderful, healthy things to do in the world. They're creating beautiful things that make everybody happy. No, he doesn't want any part of that. He has to convince everybody that his way, the dark way, is the right way. So he'll just trash. Here comes my son again. He'll just trash that country. He'll trash it. And we know he's doing this. We don't have the guts because, you know, we just, we keep being told, well, there's a price you have to pay for being free. In other words, what is that price? It's not death. It's not your life. You don't have to pay the price. If you start, right off the bat, the price you have to pay is you have to stand up. You have to fight against somebody encroaches and harms you. You have to not no. And we're showing just exactly. It's really, it's a lot about what Churchill said. The Americans will do the right thing. But after they've tried to do every other kind of thing, it didn't work. And I think it looks like, I hope it's better than that. But you look like you're doing the same thing. Why? Because you haven't got yourself cleaned up. So actually, inside of yourself, there's crap. There's secret things. You don't just feel. You look at Ukraine. You're not able to have like an actual real feeling of love. That's, I think, for mankind. Do you love mankind? Be honest with yourself. Or do you love your friends? You have emotional feelings about mankind. Do you actually love mankind? So in the end, you show that, well, maybe not, because we all know, everybody knows what's going to happen to Ukraine. He's going to go over there, and if he can't surround the city, he'll get frustrated and start throwing bombs at them until he destroys the entire city. Is that rocket science? And he's doing it right now, and he will continue to do it. God willing. If something doesn't stop it, God doesn't intervene, and hopefully God will intervene in some way. man is supposed to. You have to learn your lessons yourself. If God is always intervening, God is always intervening, and what are you going to learn? So you're pretty much on your own in that sense. So, we should have gone in there pretty quick after a couple of 2 or 3 days, and said, okay, all right, I'll be right over. Your friend calls you, your neighbor calls you. The golden rule, skip all the fancy talk and all this stuff about, oh, he's got nuclear weapons, he'll kill us, Your concern is to do the right thing. That's why you're here on the earth. You're here on the earth to choose the right thing rather than the wrong thing. If you choose the right thing, ironically or whatever, see, then you will live. You will have a good life here. If you choose the wrong thing, you make mistakes. What is it Christ said? The mistakes, the price you pay for that is death. So, we did the same thing in Iraq. It's much harder for us. I mean, this is a much easier lesson for us to see. We don't relate that much to the Mideasterners. We relate some. But we relate a lot more to the Western style of life and the kind of things that we have values for and everything else. And so when we went in there for no reason, we did the same thing to Iraq that Putin is doing to. We made up a story, and we went in and killed 1 million people, over 1 million people, women and children, grandmothers. It was a horror. And we said, well, because we were afraid they're going to. So we acted out of fear. We were afraid that they were going to kill us all with their weapons of mass destruction. And so, we went in and got them first. It's delusional. It's psychotic. You ever had a psychotic friend or a friend who was not well? Or they come up to you and they go like, you're not going to do that to me. And you're going, what the fuck are you talking about? Have some coffee. I made you some coffee. Oh, no. We're not talking about coffee here. I know what you're going to do to me, And I'm not, but, if they're sick enough, they'll do it to you first. So I'm gonna show you. And they'll beat you up for no reason. For no reason. Well, there is a reason. The reason is their own psychosis and their own delusion. That's what we're dealing with here. Wake up. I'm trying to talk to the Zelensky guy because he's a good kid, but he only goes so far. So he keeps asking for things he doesn't understand. This is about fear, the fear of death. When you get trained by the Almighty, God will kind of show you gradually and in good ways and everything else that you can't. That's a hard one. The fear of dying. That's a big deal, but. You have to kind of learn how not to be afraid, even in the face of all kinds of things. It's a gradual process. You become hardened. You become good at it. Obviously, there are a bunch of people on the earth. If you look around, they came here. They already had it. They would go, well, sure, yeah, we've got to, they would not be afraid of death, and not even pay that much attention to it. So, because either you can be oppressed and afraid of death, in which case you're the slave of that fear, to some degree, when it comes up, you go running, woo, off you go. So this is it's a beautiful, it's a wonderful test for us. You notice a lot of the Ukrainians left, and a bunch of them came back. And they left. Most of the left, the men weren't cowards and weren't running off like some other countries. Well, I won't go that. But But a lot of the men came back. Well, Zelensky had to kind of prompt them, say, well, you can't leave the country if you're under 60. In other words, this is, we need to do this thing. It's a hard thing to do. My computer, I should set it a little longer, keeps, blanking out on me. Because I haven't touched anything for a while. So anyway, that's the thing. Choose God. Choose the one. First you have to find out there actually is a God. Well, you take this gift He's giving you. He'll give you proof, real proof. Everybody has a different proof. What's the proof for one person isn't the proof for another, and you have to have your own experience. Ride the horse. Dig the ditch. Then you have something to say about it. You have to have your own proof that there's a God. I'll tell you what my proof was. I was walking around a room, I was submitting, I was one of those half-hour scenes with a bunch of other guys that all accepted the same thing. 50 years ago it was. And I'd been in for a couple of years, but then something came over. I was walking along, I was being moved to walk, learning how to walk in the right way, I guess. Anyway, I'm walking along, and a voice comes over my right shoulder. And it says, with some authority, it says, what did it say? It said, without the power of God, you have no power. And the next thing you know, I was kind of going right on down to the floor. I had no power. I suddenly became powerless. I just went right down on the floor, and I lay there without any power. And the next moment wouldn't come to me. I wasn't in excruciating pain or anything, but I couldn't move, and the next moment wouldn't come. It was just, I was just stuck there. I was like, I tried a couple things. Nothing. I couldn't get out of it. And after a couple minutes, lights came back on again. Oh, I saw I could get up now. I could get up. I could go on walking around the room. Well, after that exercise was over, I had a few thoughts, and that changed everything. Because I realized, I understood, through direct experience, that actually there is a God, and there actually is a God, and that God is giving me the power every time I do anything just to live. He's giving me life. He's giving me all that comes with life. And that kind of changed everything. Because if you actually know and you experience that there is a God, if you've had a child and you've seen them be upset, or you've experienced the love, the unconditional love that they give you, which is like the love that God gives you, and you take it to heart, and you accept it, and you face it, and you understand. You don't try to run away from the truth. Just face it head on. Well, then you know, don't you? You know there's a God. So if you know there's a God, then you behave differently. Then you see life differently. Try to figure out how it all works. Try to understand it. You hope that God will bring you to understanding, which He does in His way. How it's best for you to understand things. So, as long as you choose to follow man, it's like they say, there's a bunch of people who talk about anarchy, don't give your power, which is the wisdom, there's a wisdom there. You think of chaos, but that's not the what's behind it. Anarchy is about not giving your power to somebody else. Because why? We find that if we give our power, particularly to lost people, if they weren't lost, it'd be different. You give your power to somebody else, and they get funny on you. If you get a bunch of power yourself, you'll get funny on yourself, and unless you catch yourself, you'll start doing things that aren't cool because you have the power to do it, and you know that feeling of power is very real. So you say, "No, you're not doing that. I'm telling you before. You're not doing that. I'm telling you what to do." And you know, at that moment, you feel a kind of something because it's not, maybe you wouldn't call it directly a pleasure, but by its absence, it is a pleasure. It's a unity. That's all there is in that moment. You telling the other person what to do. So it's kind of like you're saying, you know, it's like you're taking the authority. You know, you're preceding the Almighty. God didn't. If it was God who submitted, well, wait a minute. Let's talk this over. What would you like to do, and what do you think is the best thing? Let's agree on this. Those are all kinds of things that you would be doing if you were tuned in. You were working with the Almighty, and you were letting God guide you. So anyway, you're going to keep doing this until, you know, I mean, it looks this way, that you'll keep doing this until you'll say, no, I got to go with God. It's the only thing that will work. And that's true. It's the only thing that will work. Yeah. It works great too. It works. I mean, life, when you take up this gift and you're submitted to it, is you see the possibilities. It's absolutely incredible. You know, I'm not going to talk a bunch of nonsense, but I remember in the early years, I could see how the guides would go, how things could be easily worked out. And the guidance for the Ukraine right now is, you know, get over there, fight the good fight, don't worry about dying, God will take care of the nuclear bombs. You just go over there and look after the loving people that you also love, and help them. You'll feel good about what you're doing, and it'll all be good. Okay, well, here comes something. Okay, bye-bye. Can I turn this off?